Saturday pregame, this is Johnny Detroit, where we're going to break down the action for Saturday, look back at the action for Friday, and tell you what you need to do to prepare for the bowl game going on today, plus the NFL playoffs underway. First thing, pregame.tv, there's two great videos up breaking down the games for tonight. Saints-Lions, Marco and Steven Nova break down that game, and then the Bengals and Texans, you got Brian Leonard and Marco D'Angelo. There's also an early game up for tomorrow's action from Mr. Pittsburgh himself, Marco, and Mr. Wannabe, Mr. Pittsburgh, RJ Bell, where they break down the Pittsburgh Steeler-Denver Bronco game. And then there's an early look-ahead video, real great one with VR and RJ, where they break down the Alabama LSU National Championship game. Also, for all of you newbies, there's a great feature over at pregame at sportsbookspy.com, where we monitor a bunch of the offshore sports books and let you know who the public is betting. And right now in the bowl game, looks like about 64% of the public is backing Pittsburgh over SMU and the over. And in the NFL, it's a little more equaled out overall amongst all the public bettors. But there's one game that stands out. 74% at the time of this video are on the over in the total with the Detroit Lions and New Orleans Saints. And if you happen to hear RJ on Colin Cowherd on ESPN Friday, you would know that this is the highest total in the history of the NFL playoffs. And that being said, the public is still hammering the over. So how did the pregame pros do yesterday? It was kind of like a half full, half empty. A bunch of guys had great days. A bunch of guys got killed. Tony, George, and Marco really selected yesterday. Both hit their bowl games. So 1-0 from both of them. Props. Andre Gomez, captain volume. The guy plays so much volume, he makes VR's stomach turn. He played 12 games in the NBA. He goes 9-3, including a lone 2-star winner, as Andre tends to play 1-stars. He did hit his 2-star yesterday. Denver money doesn't get a lot of props, as with the football going on, since he caters to the pucks. But whether it's rugby, cricket, or racquetball, if it wins, it wins. And Denver money 3-0 yesterday on the ice. Definitely want to check him out. Winning day again for Mr. Greg Shaker and Vegas runner. 3 out of 4 props to UVR, and it's his 3-star bowl game. And the not so pretty, I go 0-2. Once again, release the plays early, beat the line moves by 1.5 in the college basketball, up to 2 depending what line you got, and beat the college game by 2 points. But lost both, so even though we beat the moves and beat the steam, we didn't win. So it's all that matters, I guess. 0-2. Goodfellow dropped his Portland 3-star. Mr. Portland was not Mr. Portland last night. Ben Burns had a rough day, including a minus $2 hockey favorite that lost 4-0. Wah, wah. Dave Essler goes 2-4. He dropped his big 2-star. Rough day for Joe Gavazzi and a rough day for Mr. Spartan. So who am I looking at today? First, the obvious one, Marco D'Angelo, Mr. Pittsburgh. Every time we've hyped him on the videos, he's done really well historically in Pittsburgh game. He has a big 3-star going in the bowl game. Mike Hook, Mr. Doing work, grinding it out. He doesn't use a lot of the big games. Very rarely will he toss around games of the month, games of the year. So he's kind of like E.F. Hutton. When Hook talks, you got to listen. He has a college basketball game of the month, so I'm definitely taking a look at that. Goodfellow, even though he did have a losing day yesterday and he did hit or lose his big game in the Portland game, he is 11-3 in the NFL this season on 3-star best bets, and he has a 3-star best bet going today. So if you followed Mr. Goodfellow all NFL season on these plays, you would have hit 79%. That being said, I am definitely looking at him. Another thing I want to start doing is, since people tend to always, and I look at the sales numbers every morning, they tend to follow all of the bowl games, the big games, the guys with the big games in the hoops, and they tend not to look at the lesser sports, and they tend not to look at maybe sometimes the guys that aren't the Marcos or the VRs that essentially are the premier names and well-known guys at pregame. The two guys I'm looking at for Saturday is Tony George. Great guy, met him tons of time in the NFL. He is 12-5 last year in the NFL playoffs. He was 60% in the NFL this season, and he has an NFL 3-pack going today. So to me, that's one of the hidden gems over at pregame. The guy has a proven, consistent record in the NFL playoffs. He did it in the NFL regular season, so definitely want to check out Tony. And my hidden gem is the pretty boy himself, the guy with the brightest teeth at pregame, Mr. Gil Alexander's NFL 3-star game of the week. If you listen to Gil's podcast, it gets a few thousand listens every time the guy puts it up. He has amazing guests, amazing information. I've actually done Gil's show, and once that podcast, which usually goes about an hour plus, goes off the air, all the experts he gets stay on the air off air, I should say. And they sit and they shoot and they talk and they break down the games with Gil, and they go over some stuff that maybe due to time restraints they had to leave off the podcast, and Gil makes it a point in his promo to let you know that he has some really great information and handicap and analysis, and he's sharing that with you. So definitely want to check out Mr. Gil. So moving over to the free selections, I first want to give some shouts out to the guys that are doing really well over in the streak section over at pregame.com. If you click streaks in the nav bar, Mike Shuttlesworth 6-0, 6-0 run. Props to you, my man. And Billy Baru and Roundhead both on 5-0 runs. The free selection for Saturday comes from the guy who's too cool for school, wears shades, little older, but he still thinks he's the man. J.R. O'Donnell, NC Wilmington minus 3.5. That's rotation number 632 over Hofstra. Whenever I hear rotation numbers, it makes me think back to the days of betting with Bookstore Eddie over on Greenfield and Southfield at Leisure Bookmart, as Bookstore Eddie used to always yell when you would call in to take some action on a big busy day, and you'd say the team, and he would yell in his disgruntled little Polish voice, rotation number, rotation number. You know how hard it is to go through these schedule books to find that game. Who the hell is Hofstra anyways? So he likes NC Wilmington minus the points. I'll break down basically the analysis as he thinks that NC Wilmington is a very young team, yes, but they've looked better and better after each game. They're starting to close a lot of their games, and he likes them minus the points today over Hofstra. So from Johnny Detroit, go Lions. Back tomorrow on Sunday. Best of luck.